What is up, everybody? Happy Saturday to you if you observe Sabbath. I hope that you are enjoying Sabbath, getting lots of rest. I like to use this day to reflect. I talk to God probably any and all, like every day, all day. We talk about, I'm lamenting a lot of times. It's so funny because I talk to God so much and I believe in a heavenly host. So sometimes as soon as I get in my car and I'm driving by myself, I get in and I almost like feel them like, oh Lord, here comes her lamentations, because I just be having conversations sometimes like, why, Lord? Don't you want to end this world now? It's okay, and I feel that way because it's like, and like I said before in a couple of previous videos, I sometimes have the spirit of Jonah, right? And when I say the spirit of Jezebel or the spirit of Jonah, it's really, sometimes it's our feelings, our characteristics, our positions can encompass our spirit, And so, I believe that there are some good people in this world worth saving, worth preserving, worth enlightening to higher consciousness and thought and being more in line with the spirit. And I think that, my mission when I do my videos is to be a source of that enlightenment. So, as I've grown up and even matured in my own spirituality in just the last couple of years, I've learned, okay, why it is valuable to be politically, socially neutral about a great many of things. I understand why. And, sometimes when you grow up learning faith, you're just sitting there, you're listening to people tell you about stuff that has been written a long time ago. You don't really know how to connect the dots. You really do got to go out in the world and make, the spiritual truth and those fundamental lessons your own to realize why they are so important to not only, learn how to put into practice, but also pass on and pay forward to the people that you love, and also the people that you may meet that may have, a receptive heart. And so that's what I seek to do. And so, I feel like my content has transitioned, where I was more so on the bandwagon of commenting about, things in Satan's world, you know what I mean? And as opposed, or people, as opposed to really trying to give people the proper context that they really need in order to just function in this world. And that's what I'm always praying to God about is, Lord, you told us in 2 Timothy 3, chapter 1 through 5, and I've cited that on here before. I invite you to read it on your own time, just so you can pick up your own Bible instead of just listening to everybody else pick up the Bible. Read the whole chapter if you need to get the full context. Yeah, right. But, make the word of God your own, and you'll start having way more clarity than you've ever had before. I think my intelligence really heightened when I was able to really understand and connect the dots on some of the things I learned, when I was growing up, and it became more real and just kind of, it just opened me up a lot more. So I say that to say that, we live in this hyper social political world. I've been talking about that. It impacts, a variety of things of how we think, how we function, how we deal with each other. There's these different schools and camps of thoughts. Many of them are riddled with divisive emotional idealism and instead of pragmatism. And, I always say that anybody can be a social psychologist. Anybody can be a psychologist, right? All you got to do is just sit back and look at how people move, how people operate. And you really, you quickly figure out that people are really a textbook situation to something else or somebody else that you have seen. And if you are a person paying attention, right, you're able to read people and understand how to operate, and at least even down to their messaging, where they're coming from and their intent. You'll be able to clearly see that. So about a week ago, there was a, AFPAC convention or whatnot, America First convention that was hosted in Detroit downtown. And they had it at Huntington's Place, right? And obviously you had a lot of right-wingers who represent different ideological thoughts coming together with this, one purpose of, they want to put, they want America to be first and as a first priority in governance when it comes to how we operate. Many of these people, they have anti-Israel sentiments, right? And they also have anti-Jewish people sentiments. And, when you peel back the layers of some of their arguments, I'm one of those people, I can even listen to the arguments of a racist to kind of see if there's some validity in what they're saying. And so, I think that when you peel back the layers of arguments, in all of these think tanks, there's a level of validity that you can pull from a lot of them. And that's why I say when you stay politically neutral, you're able to kind of look at these arguments objectively. You're able to even think about more solutions-based ways of handling these arguments. And you can provide more value. But we don't live in a world where that is what they want. Division is the goal. And so that's why you have all these groups and these subgroups. And I dig into the Black American culture quite a bit because obviously I am associated with this construct and this culture within America. And so therefore, I am always about, I want to protect the image of Black people, especially those who do not live up to narratives and constructs that are constantly being projected about us. So that's just to say that, I've been, beyond Black people, I've been very curious about how other groups think and operate. And because some of the arguments from these other groups trickle into the Black community, right, I am only going to be speaking about these other groups from the lens of the arguments that are related to Black people. So you have this white girl, Lily, right? And this is revealing, right? Because you have this conservative, you have this conservative think tank, right? And even within that think tank, you have all these schools of thoughts, right? And obviously with this America First group, right, they are more so on the idealisms of, white supremacy, right? And when I say white supremacy in their context, I'm talking about Gentile, non-Jew supremacy, right? And this group of people, they're frustrated for, a variety of different reasons. If I could peel back the layers of their arguments, apparently, obviously they feel like at some point in this country's history, there was a Jewish takeover. And because of that Jewish takeover, it's pretty much degraded and compromised and short squeezed, if you will, all of the systems that have made America great. And these systems are not necessarily what they're talking about as systems of racism. It's more so dealing with economic systems, social systems, right? And they are people who are, in their mind, seeing a pattern of what got Jews expelled for, I think it's over 100 countries throughout history. They're calling out these patterns in America as they see them. And like I said, in 2020, I see a rise in Nazi Germany. I needed to see more to really be firm in that resolve. And I'm firm in that resolve. Because you do see this rise of these populist groups who, they're connecting dots. And, and when you talk about that rise in anti-Semitism, I mean, there's definitely a rise in anti-Semitism in my mindset because there's been, so many dots that have been connected that kind of goes back to some individuals in the Jewish community. And some of that is threatening, right, to some of those in the Jewish community for a variety of different reasons. Like if you're a perpetrator, it's threatening for people just to know that you are the perpetrator. If you are a just regular working Jewish person, it's threatening to you because now you're getting lumped up with all these perpetrating Jews, right? Same thing with the Black struggle here, right? If you're intelligent Black in America, doesn't matter. you're going to get lumped up with all the social projections of Black people that are negative, right? So we all fight in the battle, and it's not the victim Olympics over here, because I realize that we're all fighting these different battles, right? Because there's so many different investments in division in America that you have all these different sects and subsects of thought. And really, the end game is people hating each other, right? And so you can start funding unity and understanding and DEI, all this stuff all day long, but it's never really addressing core society and what they're being fed constantly in this propaganda machine, where the news is narrating fallacious stories. You got social media just inundating people with algorithms that will hit their sensibilities. So if you're a racist white person, guess what you're going to see in the algorithms all day? Things that validate your position, right? You're going to see violent, animalistic Black people, right? Uncivilized Black people, even though in real life, in reality, that may not be the case. Twitter spaces are awesome, or X spaces are interesting because you can catch some really good dialogue. I like going into X spaces just because I like to hear what regular people have to say about things. Sometimes I'll go into the more high profile, influencer think tanks because they are the new celebrities, right? And so I caught two of them recently that I wanted to kind of call attention to. So the first one is about White Girl Lily, right? And I don't say that to be racist. I have a lot of awesome, white people that I know of that I do business with, but there's also that segment of white people that will do everything they can to make other white people look racist and bigoted, right? And so White Girl Lily got her rise to sensation by putting on an apron, right? Looking like an innocent white, cookie cutter mom, right? And talking about how her friends are married to broke ass N-words, right? So obviously the bigoted portion of the white American segment just ate it up. They loved it. Oh my God, this cute little white girl saying the N-word and making Black people angry. They just loved it, right? And, Black people, there were some Black people that were infuriated by it, There were some Black people, they looked at it like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing, right? Because there's some Black people that do not give that word power. They'll hear a white person say it knowing that the white person feels like it's the ultimate ether using the N-word on a Black person, when really it's just kind of like, no, nah, not the same effect anymore. You can't even have my energy to want to slap the hell out of you for saying it anymore. It's like, because when you start to really read the demons in some of these people, it's like you don't want to give these demons your energy. You just say, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus, and keep it moving. Just rebuke them in the name of Jesus, right? Like, if they want to just kind of I can't win this argument, so I'm going to go in with it. Rebuke them in the name of Jesus and keep it moving. And that's what a lot of Black people do. I think white people need that word to have power over, some white people, not all, need that word to have power over Black people, just because, it's a way for them to empower themselves, and as I see it, there's a number of white people who, they just, they empower themselves by trying to create this narration that across the board, all Black people are fundamentally ignorant, lazy, or victimized in their position. And that's why you always hear them, when they want to go back and forth with you, spout out the same recycled Republican talking points, right? Because, once you understand that this is an echo chamber of ignorant thought and position, right, you can really start adjusting how you accept a lot of this stuff. And that's what I had to do. I had to practice doing that. So here's White Girl Lily, right? They were eating her up. She was about to get her Republican stardom. She was even posting like, yay, I said the N-word and pissed off Black people, and now I'm getting ready to be a superstar in the Republican square. She was feeling like she was up one, right? And then they just started. Then all of a sudden there was another portion of the America First movement, right? And they're like, this girl seems very psyopy, right? She seems very psyopy, can't touch it, can't quite put it there, but this doesn't seem organic. And that's what a lot of these influencers are. They're not organic people these days. They're jumping on the bandwagon of ideological thought so that they can get in, right? And in some of these circles, you can't get in unless you demonstrate that you can be blatantly disrespectful to another person or another group, right? So for the conservative think tanks, right, you're in when you can demonize, talk crap about Black people most of the times. Like if you're a blackface or something like that, if you can talk crap about Black people, most times you're good in those conservative circles, right? Whether you're Black or white, you're good. They love the Black ones better over there talking shit about Black people because it hits better, right? It's better for them to say it about them than us. You know, they can talk our feelings for us. And that's where Black conservatives come in. So you got, Jason Whitlock, Shamika Michelle, the Hodgkins or conservative trends now, Andrew Tate. You got all these Black associated, Black looking people by some level of a drop of blood or whatever in there or half, right? Or just straight up Black people buck dancing for the extreme Republican side that are absolutely racist, right? And they want to say all kinds of stuff about Black people, even if they are not as intelligent as other Black people. They still need some validating force. And I realize that when I'm around, people, I'm in a crowd, right? And I'm, a white woman or a white individual, who has these weird stigmas about Black people already attached to them. When we're having a conversation and I kind of talk about, and when I start talking, have the conversation, there's some level of intimidation, right? They got to somehow get themselves out of that conversation, right? Because they can't be made to be validated talking to Black people like me. Intelligent Black people are always going to be a threat. And I'm talking about intelligent Black people with a firm, independent position, right? We are truly enigmas. We are truly enigmas because people expect for us to live or exist with these, an ideology from one of these think tanks, right? And so it's perplexing for them when we do not meet those constructs of what they think. And then when you don't meet the construct, they lose validation. So they got to get away. I got to go find me a struggle, victimized Black woman. This person is, intelligent. I can't debate this person, right? I can't convince this person that they're a victim or that they have problems. And every time I talk to some, they're always like, well, yeah, they always want to validate how victimized Black people are. And it's like, I'm trying to, fight those mindsets, right? I exist in them, but I'm not going to succumb to them. And it's like they need you to succumb to them. So I say that to say that, here's white girl Lily, and now she's just getting backlash from her own circle. Look how they going.
You're a single mom. You do drugs in Detroit. You don't take care of your kid. You shouldn't be giving advice to young men. Your life sucks. Okay, your life sucks. You failed. You're a single mom.
Hey.
Why are you giving advice to young people? Nick's 7 times. He's half your age and 50 times more successful than you. You're unlikable.
Thanks.
That video you posted is just. Imagine everybody watched the video she posted where she's in the car bitching. And
they're going in on this girl.
Married to her.
And this is from her own movement. They're like, you're psyop. They called her out.
What happened to last week's energy where you were being this?
This is why you're alone, Lily. Because that car video is just picture you're bitching at a man and he sees you. So if he doesn't hit you,
he's usually a lot nicer than this.
He tagged me. I didn't even watch it. You're just an obnoxious bitch. You're just an obnoxious bitch.
So just last week, Lily was a hero. And now these conservative men are going off on her. Why? Because they realized she was a psyop, right? not only were you trying to act like you were this model white girl for the conservative movement, you ended up being the exact opposite. They might as well give Lily a black card. Like I mean, Lily meets all the constructs and ideals that they have of black women. So Lily might as well just stop being racist, stop talking mess about her friends' N-word husbands, right? Because they may be the only ones that's going to be on her team at the end of the no, they won't. No, they won't. Because Lily's done sold herself out. Once you start selling yourself out to ignorance, it's shame. It's shame. Shame. Right? So they went in on white girl Lily, and I'm calling her that because she really did try. She was like, I'm going to say the N-word. I'm going to have to get some stardom. And boom. So the next topic that I wanted to get into really quick is Tariq Nasheed jumped into a spaces with Myron Gaines from Fresh and Fit, Sneeko, and the red pill, young little youth, goofy Beta Squad people, right? So Tariq went and jumped into the space, right? And I guess they figured that they were going to tag team Tariq, right? Now, Tariq is one of those people, I do like the control that he has, right? And I like the demonstration of grace and control, even though he will clown you, right? He will call you out on your clownery, right? And that is exactly what he did to Myron, who was spouting off recycled Republican talking points. I mean, this is like an echo chamber. It's like an echo chamber. That's why it's so predictable to understand, like, when you're arguing with people from any of these little camps of thought, their arguments are so predictable. It's easy to counter them. It's easy to address them because they're so recycled. If you're an intelligent person, you have zero choice but to be able to catch yourself, get up on game on how to address some arguments. So, anyways, they're in there, and obviously they call themselves going to gang Tariq on his pro-black stance and his ideals of white supremacy still impacting the black community, which it does, right? And obviously these guys are going to act like they're blissfully unaware of the points. When they ask him a question, he answers them with true reality, right? And when you're oblivious to reality, when you are experiencing life through a single lens, right, you may not understand what this person is talking about. Myron definitely understands what Tariq is talking about because he looks like a black-looking man, even though he looks ambiguous. He's like black Arab looking, right? So he looks ambiguous. So that same other portion of supremacy is still going to look at him the same way, right? And that's why Myron is definitely, he's taking more, it seems as though he's in that camp of America first, right? So there's a theme with some of these people. There's some dots, you can connect with a lot of these people. But again, these people are still oblivious because they're like, America's a free country. Immigrants can come and work hard, blah, 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 doing these laborious slavery, type jobs, if you will. And, they work hard, right? But when you talk about working hard, to me, working hard means I'm going to hustle to build my business. But I am still going to have a divine balance of this is not all I'm living for, right? And Tariq makes some great points about how immigrants rock, where, most Black Americans, we're not 20 deep people living in one house with like a huge income in one house, right? We're not 20 deep like that, right? I mean, the most you have is like maybe one generation and like a grandma or grandpa living, but you're not having like 12, 13 people sometimes living in one house. Most of the times it's not even legal from a local, ordinance standpoint to even have that many people in one house. But off of that, right? I want to just you guys to listen to some of the methods of arguing that these people engage in. And don't get me wrong, I think that Tariq, he makes great points. There's some things that I disagree with him on. I think Tommy Sotomayor, obviously he can't stand the Jews, right? This black brother, he can't stand the Jews, right? And he's more so on the side of the non-Jewish whites, okay? And it's important to understand the distinction between these groups, because Tariq doesn't make any disparity between white supremacy. Like, in his mind, white supremacy is both the Gentile non-Jew white and the Jew white, right? Or the white-looking Jew, right? And there's a point in this discussion, I invite you guys to look at this. It's Tariq Nasheed versus Myra Gaines Nico and the alt-lights, right? And Tariq, and he posted this about 4 days ago on Tariq Radio, on the YouTube channel, Tariq Radio. And if I were you guys, I would listen to this entire discussion because it does give you some context in how some of these people think, the rationality. There was some rationality put on the table, which I appreciated in this dialogue, but there was also a lot of the usual suspect supremacy talking points, pissing masters between some of these guys. I got more money than you, blah, blah, blah. Who cares, bro? Who cares? You were able to sell your soul in a fashion to get a whole bunch of money. That doesn't make you the smartest person in the room. And it's true, the person that was making these statements was the least smartest person in this entire dialogue. But I think that it was a great dialogue that I think if people were smart and could, really peel back the layers of what these guys are saying, you'll learn a lot about society, and that's all I'm about. And I think, I might have to do a whole official podcast setup and actually take this particular video and just kind of break down some key talking points because it was a great discussion, in my opinion. All right, so let's just kind of go into some of the stuff they were talking about. I mean, these guys were cursing at each other.
Hey, you better change that subject. Y'all not falling out like that. You're not doing so much better than us over here.
Nigerians are the most successful blacks.
How so? How? Well, okay, then name the successful.
They have the highest annual income, somewhere around 8%.
Okay, you know why? No. Let's break that down. That household income is higher.
What's the excuse now for why they're laughing?
The higher the income, the household income is higher for a lot of immigrants because most foundational black Americans have 2-income households, either one or two. A lot of you immigrants have 30 niggas living in the house, all driving Uber, and that makes the income for the household go up higher. That's the only reason. It's not that you work harder. It's more of you living in a damn house. So tell all of it and put it in the right context. It's not that you have these prosperous communities.
Love the stereotyping.
Y'all don't have them.
That's not true. That's
100% true. There is no prosperous communities that you guys have like that. Y'all just live in the house.
Have you thought
y'all have a whole bunch of people living in the house.
So he's putting some really good points to think about on the table when people want to make arguments about, immigrants, black-looking immigrants do better than, black people. And it's just like, well, let's kind of look at why that is, and a lot of it is, and they get into it too, and later on, deeper into that particular train of thought, where a gentleman made a point of saying that Black Americans, we've been in this society long enough where we're not about to get punked by non-Black people anymore. We're not going to be yes people to non-Black people. It's going to be, okay, what do you need me to do? Give me space to do it. I'll do it. Give me my flowers and let me go on with my life, right? Whereas, and I've actually heard this from immigrants where they're like, we're just like, they're tokens, like we're the tokens, right? Because immigrants, they don't, they don't challenge the system most of the time. Black-looking immigrants are not challenging anything. Right? If anything, they're constantly benefiting off of the things that Black Americans are challenging, but then they will say, oh, you're constantly bitching, you're always whining, right? And so it's one of those things that it's like, if we weren't, you wouldn't have the balls to do it. See how that works? And so, and this has been the dynamic between Black immigrants and Black Americans, Foundation of Black Americans, for a while, where the issue that a lot of Black people, Black Americans have, is that, you know, immigrants will always side on the white supremacist side or the white supremacist system side, you know, and they don't really come together with Blacks because they don't see the advantage. They see more of an economic advantage just siding with the oppressor. And so Tariq makes, you know, the point several times that you people come over here and you side with the same type of oppressor that caused your countries to be so crappy that you had to flee as a refugee and become an immigrant in this country. So how dare you talk about Black Americans? Right? So that was one point I thought was really good.
Say white supremacy runs the world, which I don't.
But then why did you have to flee? I mean, the British went over there. They were running roughshod over in the Sudan. The reason why it's so janky.
And he's talking to Myron, who is Sudanese.
They orchestrated it, right?
I'm talking about the United States.
No. I'm talking about global white supremacy. White supremacy is global. It's a global thing, right?
I'm talking about the United States because that's what's
No. The world is pertinent.
Because
No. The
you're
world
complaining
is pertinent.
that the United States is specifically is militarily
I said
holding back the
global.
black man.
No. I said global because there's no place we can go that's free of white supremacy. Name the country that's white supremacy free. That's not. China.
The United Arab Emirates, Middle East in general, Saudi Arabia. Like, bro,
Really?
come on, man. Yes.
Dude, they
Yes. Matter of fact, they stopped using the American dollar. I think that's pretty free of white
If you don't
supremacy.
stop-
Saudi Arabia literally just told the United States, fuck off.
Okay. I'm going to bounce around a little bit because they talked, it was a...
All right. I just need to mute because Tariq, you're not being respectful.
But he did point out how they would be white supremacists if they didn't like your black ass.
But you're not seeing where he doesn't understand. It's like they're classified that within the group because they want to be undercover as white people to divide white and black people to have ultimate control. That's what you don't seem to understand. And you're also overestimating the anti-black racism. That's the smallest problem. See, you're here with
not.
It's the smallest thing.
That's what
That's
you
why
said.
you're here with the suit in your profile picture. Tommy's wearing a suit. The majority of black Americans, they wear their pants sagging. They wear nothing. They wear bras. They're out there with red hair
See,
because
echo chamber of stereotypical ideas and thoughts about black people, and that's what a lot of these people cleave on to.
And that's why,
like I said, this was a great conversation, and I want to give Tariq his flowers because he held his own. For the most part, there was a couple of people who chimed in, and helped the brother out, but he held his own in that conversation. And, a lot of these people, there's, if you don't have a strong thought, you're going to start lodging insults. You're going to start trying to belittle a person. You're going to try to bring them down to the stereotype that you want to believe about them. And that's what a lot of these guys were trying to do, but they were failing. And I'm going to give Tommy Sotomayor his flowers too, because he tried to be as objective as he possibly can, in this conversation, calling them out on their failure to even get to challenging his point in an intelligent way. So the real intelligence in that particular room out of everybody was Tariq and Tommy and the other brother that was chiming in. And again, I don't think that intelligence is confined to a skin color. And it's sad that some people actually cleave on to that mindset that if I'm white, I am intelligent. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, you can just go into dialogue with somebody that you perceived as being more ignorant, less intelligent than you, and get ethered, right? And you walking out there questioning something else. Like, all you're going to have is your hate for the black person, that they're smarter than you, they ether you, and you're going to be perplexed as to why you continue to hate them so much, when really you just hate yourself. You hate the fact that you cleaved onto a mindset about a person or an entire group of people, and then you met the fallacy to your beliefs. And that's where people who have deep-rooted hate, they really are a danger to themselves and other people, because after they cannot validate their rooted hate, that's when they go to violence, right? That's when many of these types of people go to violence. And it's not just the white supremacists, this is human beings, right? When you usurp the validation and the ideas that certain people have and they can't argue them and you can shut them down everywhere, some people will either sit back, reflect, and entertain. Some people will be resentful and they will allow that resentful to sometimes turn into hate and violence. And that's the culture of people that we're living in today. So I don't know. I just felt like talking about people and groups today because I'm just observing just all these ideas and people in society. And I'm like, dang, this is just like the days of Noah. This is just like the days of Noah to me. So anyways, you guys keep your prayers up. Happy Sabbath to those of you who observe. And I say just, hey, keep your eyes open. Look at how people are moving. Watch how they move. Watch what they say. I mean, look at all the camps. And you can start bucketing people into sub-camps of thought. So even in the Black community, there are sub-camps of thought. In the white community, there are sub-camps of thought. And that's why and even within, you know, what we would consider the Jewish community, there are sub-camps of thought. And it's interesting, you know, and it's always good to be conscious of those things because you just don't want to blanket, you know, all people one way, because there's the projections, but then there's real life. And sometimes real life is going to shock you more than the projections because you're being fed the projections, right? You actually have to go out and experience real life. So that's my take for today. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful weekend, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.